that for me at that point meant that, oh, then I'm not going to be loved, then I'm going to be alone, then I'm going to be left, then whatever, people are going to not like me. So that's something that's really helped me with, obviously lots of different layers attached to onto that, how I broke through that. But that's kind of like with, for example, working with artists, these fears of underneath it. You could have a fear of being abandoned, and that's why you're not taking certain decisions about or certain steps in your life, or that's why you might be preoccupied with other things that then hold you back from taking steps to create your cool, very own art practice that you would love to do, but you're preoccupied with pleasing others, or with thinking about others, or about being unhappy about your life. And so those thoughts cloud you, and it's because there is an underlying fear that is unconscious. You don't know it consciously, but it's very, very potent. So that's why I'm really, really passionate about this. And I usually tend to go down that route with the power of the art. So with the art therapy side of things, which really brings to the surface, or really shows you what's currently going on underneath all of our conscious thoughts about things.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at. So in terms of like your fears, how did you overcome all of them, your fears, in over the past years, because you had to make a dramatic change in your life, because like you mentioned, you was in a drug addiction as well. Also, like you had no clear path over your career path, like who you wanted to be, like you wanted to do something, but you're actually doing something else. That needed like a proper looking at the mirror yourself, like asking the question to yourself, like, what am I doing? Who am I? Why it needs to be doing? And also overcome your fears. So how everything got started, like, I know you mentioned about losing your stepdad and everything, but how did you overcome with your fear?
Yeah. So in 2009, actually, that was before the addiction really went really bad. And at that point, I would still consider myself sort of like normal, going out on weekends and partying that way. And I had I fell in love, and I had a boyfriend who like everything was great, and then it turned out to be quite a destructive relationship, which I had never thought that I would see myself in. Previously, say, oh, that kind of relationship, I would never let people do that with me. But it was the kind of relationship where I wasn't allowed to wear what I wanted to, look into directions that just look without, and
just a controlling relationship, right?
Very controlling, yes. And I put on a lot of weight. I wasn't able to see my friends, like jealousy just for friends, and just going crazy. And I completely lost myself in that relationship. But obviously, and I know this, that relationships just mirror you of what's going on internally. So I let that happen. I let that all unfold. And it's I discovered this when I went to a lecture in London. When I was living in London, I went to a lecture which was very much about love and relationships, but on a spiritual basis, and very much about energy and how we as humans live in this world, and not just in the 1% that we can see, feel, and hear, but what's going on metaphysically. And it just gave me an understanding for the first time of that, there is a default version of me that just goes through the day unconscious and just follows the thoughts, but not realizing that I had a power to choose my thoughts. And that, for me, that's now everywhere in the internet and everyone can read it. But at that point, for me, that was something amazing, because it felt like I remembered. It was just a funny thing. It was something that I was seeking. But I finally had that tool, and I realized that I can choose my thoughts, and that I can, with those thoughts, then change my reality. And also, because obviously I was people pleasing in that relationship, I didn't have my own voice. I didn't have anything present of me, I realized that I was just that wasn't love. That was fear as well.
Yeah.
And I chose in that moment then to bring myself back to be confident with saying and speaking up, with saying what I feel, and valuing that, because I didn't value myself. I didn't value what I thought. I didn't value anything of me. I was just for the other, thinking that's love. But it was just, yeah, it was wrong. It wasn't wrong, but it was the way that it was at that moment. And so it all started with that lecture. It was actually the Kabbalah Center, which ever since then I've been studying further about myself, and they gave me the tools to really just stop and observe to your thoughts of what's happening in your internal world, and then see, are they actually thoughts that support me, get the best out of me, or are they fear-based? So I really just weighed it up all the time. Is this a fear-based thought, or is this now a trusting thought, trusting me and my power? Am I devaluing myself now, or what's going on? And so I started doing that, and just because of doing that, I then, well, first moved out of this relationship safely, and that was fine. That ended. But what happened then was just the repercussion of not having lived myself, or not having. I felt like I lost time. So I know that I'm also quite extreme and within myself. Like I go from one extreme to the next. So because it was such an imbalance, I wanted to balance it out again by doing everything that I wanted to.
You wanted to like focus on everything at the same time and fix everything.
Yes, yeah. And but I also wanted to feel free, and I didn't want any responsibility. And then I basically, the tools that got me out of the relationship that were actually bringing me that freedom, I didn't want to have to think about anything. And so that's when I went really crazy in the going out and the partying. And that's when they were fine for a while, but obviously they then went spiraling down into a place that after a year or so, it was a very dark place. I was in, my body was obviously not reacting normally anymore. I couldn't live the day. I was just living the night.